Hello, you are all so very welcome today. Thank you for joining us for our final year Matters Moving On and Minding Creative Minds collaboration. My name is Louisa Keogh and I am the Programme Coordinator for Final Year Matters Moving On, or FYMMO. And I'm joined by the lovely Emma Olohan Saramida, who is a Director of Minding Creative Minds. And this is such an important session because this organisation rather is so vital to you folks, you creatives who will be out in the industry and growing your wings and finding your way to your dream career. So no pressure, but Minding Creative Minds provides support and guidance to those in the creative industries, from legal and finance to well-being and career guidance. So I'm so happy to hand over to Emma Olohan, who's going to take you through what Minding Creative Minds can do for you and a whole host of other excellent things. So yeah, thank you so much, Emma. Over to you.
That's great. Thanks so much, Louisa. And I am delighted to be here. And thank you to the IADT community. It's brilliant to be talking to you guys at such a crucial time. And congratulations in committing to yourself in time and everything it takes to go through all of the various assessments and assignments and group projects and all of that. It's a real commitment to yourself in both time, resources, and I hope we'll see you flourish in the industry and we'll be passing you very soon with your different hats on. Minding Creative Minds was created in early 2020. It's a program and a campaign that was actually started to support musicians solely, the music industry. So anyone who was servicing the music industry, like the music PR managers, the tour managers, the record label, the press, the social media, the album artist cover, whoever's doing the cover for the fabulous albums or logos, those involved in kind of the streaming, the tech side of music, and the musicians themselves, the singer songwriters. And we had only kicked off. Dave Reed is the founder, fabulous man. You'll hopefully find him throughout your career through the Choice Music Prize, or he's been involved for many years in the first fortnight mental health festival as well, as have a number on the board of Minding Creative Minds. And we all work very well together. And we're five people on a board, so we're five co-directors. And you'll find then that there's a very small team, three people in-house, and a number of contractors then that are helping us do everything else, from our webmasters to our social media, to our photographers and our videographers and all of that. So we're all about pay the artists and we're all about economic empowerment. And when it started, it was to help musicians who, and those in the music sector that we felt, the current health service just wasn't meeting what was needed. We found an awful lot of feedback in the community was that members of the community traveled a lot, toured a lot, were in studio a lot, and are not necessarily working in mainstream hours. Creatives don't. We're kind of ad hoc hours, or we go with whatever the sector needs. So it was very hard, as well as the kind of too cool for school. It was very hard to get musicians and creatives to pick up the phone and talk. So even if it was as simple as talk therapy, just having a chat with a counselor about something that's bothering you now, or something that's been on your mind for years, or something that's gone way back that you just didn't really get off your chest. So it is a short-term intervention, which is important. But when we started, it was 6 sessions, fully paid, which is kind of amazing in today's expensive world in Ireland, and that you could have 6 full sessions with a counsellor. And that was extended 2 years ago to 12 sessions, because we now enhance the service to include sexual harassment, sexual assault, sexual trauma, or anything around trauma counselling. So we've added that through the Safe to Create program, and I'll talk a little bit later about that. So the counselling and the mental health well-being and keeping yourself well grounded, keeping yourself well rooted is very important. And resilience is so important in the industry, no matter what creative sphere you come from, no matter what pillar of the creative sector you work for. We felt that by supporting that mental health element, we could keep a lot more people in the sector and not lose people to kind of, maybe more traditional roles, or to mental health themselves, if it was a case where they just didn't get support when they needed it. And from there, then we've provided as well a service that's general legal advice, general finance advice, which is great. They're often so expensive. So kind of 30 minutes or an hour with a specialist is great. You can get all those questions out of the way. you could be signing a contract, to do a tour. You could be signing a contract for a gig. You could be literally singing with a choral group, and you need to know financially what you should be asking for in your contract, or what should a contract look like, and just to make sure that some basics are there for you. So the legal and finance service, we feel, is used quite well as well. And that was very much Minding Creative Minds as a baby, 0 to 6 months. Okay, not teething yet, but 0 to 6 months. And then what happened was myself and my fellow colleagues on the board, we were getting a lot of information. Everyone's a small team. And we had at that time fantastic partners. And then Dave, the CEO, working in the business himself, a lot of feedback coming from the community going like, come on, things are getting very touchy. Remember, we had just launched in early 2020. COVID then happened in March. So I know myself from being in live events and mass participation events. So 20,000 people runs, 10,000 people runs. We went from having a full calendar, for example, of 20 events in 2020 to having no events on the calendar. So who is going to give us back our deposits? What are we going to do? We already charged people registration fees. Did we have to give that money back? What are the money we already paid out? Who paid us back? So all these questions, imagine, for just one event manager like myself, was horrendous for people who had much broader wings. I was an SME. I'm an SME company, very small. And so it was really quite difficult for a lot of people in the creative sector, because initially as well, the government didn't really know what to do or how to help creatives, because we're very much a freelance circuit. It's a lot of freelancers, a lot of contractors, or a lot of part-time employment or job shares. And those that are full-time and that are very lucky may have been protected to some point with the PUP scheme and with their employers, but creatives that are out there, gigging and stand up and performing arts and, all of that, the pantos that were cancelled, the theatres, the gigs, the music, the bands, it was just horrendous. And everybody else, all of you creatives here that are all part of production, the photographers, the videographers, sure, no one was working if there was no gigs, so there's just so many people involved in supporting the creative sector. So when we put an event on, or when we put a show on, it's those that are involved in the stage, in the set, in the costume, even right back to the script writing, the funding. And then you see, when the curtains open, that the fabulous cast on stage, but a hell of a lot of people were involved in that production before it ever got to the point where the curtains go up. So all of these different genres, if we want to call it that, of creatives and type of creative, we were then being made aware of up to 25, 30, 35 different types of creative in Ireland, all screaming for support in COVID. So with that, we began to collaborate with the department. We collaborated and went into discussion at that point, primarily through Dave Reid, the CEO of Minding Creative Minds, with the then Minister, Catherine Martin, who is probably, and I'm not pro politics or anything, but is probably one of the most proactive ministers for arts we've had, and really kind of came forward straight away with what can we do, how can we do it, how can we support our sector. And I know there was multiple organizations across the creative community involved in that conversation. Minding Creative Minds were playing a very humble, tiny seed part as a startup. And it just meant then that we went from kind of launching a full-blown service, let's say, in 21, 22, 23, as you would a startup, to having to have that service readily available by May 2020. By September 2020, we already had the phone lines being used, 24/7 phone lines, callbacks within 72 hours, a week maximum, and people were already starting their sessions with counsellors. They were seeing legal people, finance people. And then something happened. We had a monthly meet and greet that's still on now, and all of you are most welcome to join. It's a monthly meet and greet that takes place once a month, and it's online, and it's an open forum, and some come with their cameras on and some come with their cameras off. We have all different levels of career folk, which also makes it a really fantastic kind of just casual coffee and connect to come into. Everybody goes into breakout rooms, so at minimum they get to network and leave with a few new connections. And during those monthly meet and greets, it was really coming about that, a lot of creatives were going, okay, I have to put a different hat on now. I have to get bread and butter. I have bills to pay. I have to be able to, we don't know how long this is going to last. I have to be able to swerve in my career. and be able to pull back some of those skills that I have deep down, pull them out, and actually get active with those. And from there, as a member on the board myself, I wasn't actively engaged inside Mind and Creative Minds, but I come from a background of people, relationships, nurturing people, mentorship programs. It's always been in everything that I do. And so we started very quickly turning around the idea of a mentorship program and bringing in some really top line industry people from Ireland and abroad that work with Irish creatives or work with creatives that are based in Ireland, and have helped them through every aspect of their career. Some are early career like yourselves, but some are really well established, medium senior, who come through this program. And I'll give you an example, and I won't mention names. We had a very senior producer who has worked in some of the top films in Ireland, who decided they'd kind of had enough of, the set. They'd had enough of the production life. They wanted to be able to change it up in their late 50s, early 60s into something around passing on and giving back. So how could they give back to the community? So how could they train to be a tutor, train to be an educator, get back into actually training people and turning this into like apprenticeship style programs or training programs, and to see that mentee come through the program, meet somebody who's a peer, who's also changed career 10 years before, who was able to relate to that and deal with that, was really nice. As much as I've had actually a graduate of IADT as well. We've had numbers of graduates from multiple places, but one from IADT was going out to start a photography business, was really kind of doing the usual, that you take as many jobs as you can, but finding that some of the jobs were just not paying enough, if anything at all, and it was costing that graduate more to actually do that work. And we sat that graduate down. They got a mentorship program, and they sat down for 6 sessions with the second most popular photographer in Ireland, who sat down and explained how they structured their business and how they got from that point 15 years ago, 20 years ago, to a point now where they could, stand over demanding what they demand, showing their proven track record, showing their portfolios. And so what we do with the mentorship program is we try and help you skip 3 to 5 years of kind of meandering around, getting doors closed, maybe not pitching correctly, not knowing how to elevate yourself, and not putting your digital portfolios together, and trying to talk to the director of the top 5, film companies in the world or Ireland before you've even established yourself in smaller productions. So it's just for everybody. We have a mentor. We've 83 mentors on our panel. They're just an unbelievable amount of mentors and their experience together. It's over 100 years of experience. If you look at it, it's quite amazing. And that directory is on the Mind and Creative Minds website if you want to just go have a little nose, because you're probably sitting there going, what mentors have they got? So go on the Mind and Creative Minds website and you'll find the mentor directory on the mentorship page. So as part of the career, so on with our career section, then we thought, okay, we want to take creatives from being in a position where they have side hustle jobs, bread and butter jobs, COVID pandemic jobs, and the pandemic was over. And fast forward, we're now, thousands of hours into counselling, thousands of hours into finance and legal, and we wanted to do more. So of course, the bite was only starting. We were getting hundreds of emails from community. We'd love to see this. We'd love to see that. Do you know anyone who can help me with this? Do you know anyone who can help me with that? And a year and a half later, we started our first mentorship program 2 years ago, 2022, October. 355 people applied for the first mentorship program. We only had 60 places. And in the end, the idea of rejecting, over 200 and something just wasn't working. So we then changed up and adapted very quickly to support those. So I think 341, more or less, out of those 355 came through and had use of the service. So they got a mentorship program, they got tutorials, they attended workshops, they had niche one-to-ones put on just for them with maybe 2 or 3 others who were in the same boat. And then the mentorship program went from being just one-to-one mentorship to a peer support. So you might have a peer support, 4 or 5 people in a tutorial who all have the same question. So they're getting the advice from the mentor plus the advice from each other, which is great. And then we had workshops. So we started our workshops in 2023 with 60 workshops. And we're past 30 mark already in 2024. So I think we're looking at about 70 this year. So the Career Hub now stands as a mentorship program, a workshop program, a tutorial program. We often have lots of like series, the theater series, the various series, the film series. So we'll have different niches going on. And what I will say is the number one thing that seems to stand out for us is very basic things like how to make connections and how to network. So the amount of people who are attending those workshops are huge. So how do I network? How do I make contacts? How do I just understand the process of networking? So before I attend a networking event, let's say with Mind and Creative Minds or with the Irish Theatre Institute or with the Screen Guild or the actors, whatever, or IMRO, before I even walk in the room, what should I have ready before I actually engage? So we do some business essentials right down to the niche of, sync for music, like how to get published, how to get in front of the various streaming platforms, how to get my music up on Spotify, so right down to the very niche areas. So for example, this month we have a theater series, and it would be for performing artists or anyone on stage, right down to stand-up comedy. So in the whole list of creatives, up or down, whichever you want to say it, performing arts and having stage performance and knowing your persona on stage is actually quite a broad skill set. You can use it in a number of different environments, and it's very much a transferable skill. So that's a very popular workshop. I think she might be breaking our records this month. And funding, we do really deep dives into funding. Like Joanne Ryan and Cleve Donnelly are two specialists who do a lot of our funding workshops, and Julianne Collins. And they're quite amazing in how they know the application format. They know the language and the tone of how to be successful in those applications. The quirks and the tweaks about what the various institutions or arts councils or Creative Europe or whoever it is, what they're actually looking for when you apply right to the BIA scheme. So like really, really interesting stuff available. And I might have said it at the start, but if I didn't, I think the shocker for everybody here is that beyond the counselling, everything else is free too. You don't part with a penny when you're using the Mind and Creative Minds service. It's for the community, by the community. I'm live events and marketing. Dave Reed is music and a music manager and founder of the Choice Music Prize, which is the Album of the Year Awards. And we have Kim O'Callaghan from MCD on our board. We have Anne-Marie Shields, who's a record label owner, a former tour manager, and a career officer in BIM College. So we have Emma Matthews from Trinity. So you can imagine everyone is from a various area of creative. Ailish Tui, who's our head of comms and partnership. Ailish is a PR music manager, tour management, and then very much partnerships. And then we have Tara and Rob and a number of other amazing partners, and they're all, helping us kind of amplify our message on the digital platforms. Every hub, the Career Hub, everyone has their own teams as well. So we're a lot of micro teams. It looks from the outside like you could have 50 staff in there, but we don't. And just literally in the last couple of months, we've launched a creative art therapy service, which is amazing. And the idea of being able to use drama or theatre or music to heal is something I wasn't tuned into at all, as much as I would have liked to be. And I didn't appreciate it until I saw it at the Creative Career Summit in 2023. Shane Cassidy, a very popular music therapist, literally like stood up and did a session where more than 60 people were in the room, and he was doing a music creative therapy session with more than 60 of us in the room, and you were totally locked into this. And the positivity and the energy that you go away with is huge. And this was something, imagine that the research started a year and a half ago for Mind and Creative Minds, and just 2 months ago then we launched a creative art therapy service. And again, using a service up to 12 sessions for free, it's just, I mean, to kind of get these sessions, you just most creatives are coming to us going, I couldn't afford this actually. I'd love to do it, but I couldn't afford it. So what I would say to anyone listening here is, because you're final year and some of you might already be in industry anyway, you're out there already in your specific sector. Um, you've got to use a service that's being developed just for you, a service that's being provided for creatives. You've got to use it, because otherwise we lose it. If we don't have numbers, we don't have people using it, we don't get to keep pushing. The funders are very, very lovely partners, including the Department of Arts and IMRO and IRMA and Safe Events. And we have a lot of partners helping us. We don't do huge amounts of advertising and marketing because we don't want to be wasteful for the resources that we have. We want to put as much as we can back into the service. So we rely on word of mouth, and we rely on creatives literally spreading the word for us. And everybody knows a creative, if not a few. Everyone knows a band member, a writer, somebody in panto, someone who's acting theatre, music, modeling. Do you know what I mean? Everyone knows. I see a lot of music and audio engineers and production and photography and animation going into the gaming industry, because we're based in the Guinness Enterprise Centre, and we happen to be meeting all the time a couple of people from one of the biggest gaming groups in Ireland, and they were telling us how they are literally hiring from the creative sector. They're hiring from colleges. They're hiring the audio engineer, the production, the animation, the film, the media. They want fresh eyes, So that industry is moving so fast that I don't know if even 5 years ago would we have seen gaming and creative sector under the same umbrella. They'd have been kind of, the perception is tech, right? So again, everything is changing, and the industry is having to adapt so quickly. So Minding Creative Minds is organically responding all the time to that. We're having to adapt all the time to whatever the community is telling us they now need. So when we had COVID, we went into very strong, let's keep mental health very strong. Let's keep finance. You have to hope that if you can keep economic empowerment there, if you can keep everybody earning, then the mental health, you'd hope, it's not that it won't be there, of course it might be there, but it might be a little alleviated with the idea that the finances or the economics are okay, or the career is
Yeah.
okay. Now, there's a lot of stress that comes with career, which we all know. And in the creative sector, that is amplified because of the freelance nature and the contract nature of how we work. So you're working all the time with different leads, production managers, directors, shouting and screaming, and some are lovely and some are, really got out of bed on the wrong side, and you're kind of there having to be this constant, inflatable football. I always think of it like, those balls you see in the park, in the American parks, they're inflatable balls. You see them in the movies, and people are running like a football, and people are running inside them. And we literally have to be like that ball. We have to be this inflatable, bouncy ball that just lets people bounce off the outside, but don't actually take on the ripple. Don't take on the crap that you're being dished out. And that, if you're on uh, a particular project for a long time, and that's coming at you every day, it can wear you down. So we found that we do need that more specialist advisor, or we do need that specialist mentor, or we do need that one-to-one sometimes, where the counseling service isn't necessarily niche enough for it. The counselors are amazing, but they might not be niche enough. So we do have oncoming this year the specialist advisory panel, where you're going to have somebody who can talk to you from a more niche creative sector, like they're just servicing the creative sector, and they know the creative sector inside out, upside down. So we're finding now that the changes from kind of during COVID to post COVID is that creatives have gone from having to do survival mode to moving back into their creative sector. We have graduates coming out into the creative sector, and nobody's out anymore. They're all at home working remote or hybrid. So the networking opportunities are reduced. Do you know what I mean? Trying to get to that person is reduced. It's not like music people where you had to hang around all the gigs, and you eventually got to have a chat, and you got the email, and then you got the meeting, and you don't really have that anymore. Not anything like we would have before COVID. So we've a lot of creatives dealing with that as well. How do I get to that person? How do I get a meeting? How do I elevate? How do I put my pitch in front of them? How do I put my film idea, my script? So we have a lot of workshops very much specifically focusing on that. And again, all free. So what I would say to you is definitely dive in there where you can. I have a small little slide deck and I think we've covered most of it, but I might just open it to give you guys a little look through it to see what else I might have missed. In the meantime, while I'm
Absolutely.
opening that, Louisa, if it's okay with you, I have a video here that Fish Éireann, Screen Ireland were really, really wonderful last year in helping us to get the word out to their sector. And they were wonderful enough to sponsor 3 videos being made. And this is one of them. And I just think it might give people a taster of who the service is for. If you're in
Absolutely,
this
yeah.
class and you're on these programs, then it is for you anyway. So we know that. But I might play it
Absolutely.
for you so you can have an idea.
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
So
Share away, please.
we're
I
open
think it's
there.
phenomenal as well, just speaking about
We
the
open
mentors as
on
well,
Monday.
because
Yeah, go ahead, Lucy.
yeah, I was just going to say, because IEDT is so small
Yeah,
and like our students are so interdisciplinarily led and
yes,
taught, and I think making use of the mentor programs and of this service, of taking advantage of how small Ireland is as well, especially in the creatives,
yeah,
there's such diamonds in this country to be,
yeah.
to learn from, as Emma said, to knock out those kind of 5 years of maybe finding your way
Yeah,
and
the
stumbling
zigzag,
around.
as
And
I call it.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Take advantage of the supports around you, for sure, is what I'd say.
I think we still have to zigzag. And
Yeah.
the Creative Career Summit we have every year, we launched it in 2023. We've got completely different panels, and it's really juicy, because they get really controversial. One is about funding, one's about inclusion and the lack of inclusion. One is about what the hell are you giving out about a 9 to 5? Get in there and take the job. It's creative. Why are we sticky about, not wanting to be
Yeah.
in the box? We don't want to conform. So, there's perceptions. These are all perceptions, but there's perceptions
Yeah.
out there. They're talking about now we've got to break through these. Creatives have got to be proud to see themselves as a creative professional, as opposed to seeing
Mhm.
it as a sellout or something. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
And
absolutely.
that's with
Yeah.
really old world and new world. It's really quite
Yeah.
different
Mhm.
perceptions. And yet, these are the mentors, the lecturers. I know myself as an educator, you're obviously going to always bring, you try not to, but you bring your own bias into the classroom, your own thoughts, and you're really trying to part as many insights as you can. But the issue is you're bringing your last 20 years of insights, whereas today's graduate might go out into a completely different landscape. Like, for example,
Yeah.
climate risk and net zero and sustainability is playing a huge role, something we never heard the word of when we were in class. So, they're very different. I know sustainability officers, wellness officers, climate risk officers are a brand new role being set up for the creative sector. And they're all going to be really nicely paid roles. So there's just all these new roles that you're going, I wish I was back going to college right now.
Yeah.
I'd love it. And I think that idea of, being able to have self-compassion and allow
Mhm.
yourself to move around, allow yourself to breathe, to try different things, to put different hats on. One of the panels that I was getting to was last year's music panel, had the most amazing panel. Like Leagues O'Connor and Dan Oakley's one of the coordinators, and they spoke a lot about, like, today's musician, it's just not good enough that you write great songs. It's just not good enough that you're a great singer. Like, that's
Yeah.
fab, but it's just not enough.
Yeah.
It's not enough. You need to be able to promote yourself,
Mm.
translate all of that following that you brag about online into actually, buying a ticket in the academy, or buying tickets in Whelan's, or going to see it on, the festival circuit, like actually converting to sales and ticket sales. So being able to self promote, and being able to understand that you might have a PR manager or a tour manager, you might be signing a contract with a music manager, and what part do they do and what do you do? And a lot of musicians will come in and go, that's great, I have a music manager now, they can do everything. And they're like, not at all, you're still going to do everything. I'm just going to try and
Yeah.
make some phone calls on your behalf. So like, it's basic things like that. And they talked about the idea that, and Robert Grace is probably a fantastic example. Robert Grace, a musician from Kilkenny, who now has the largest amount of followers on TikTok that any Irish artist has. And he got signed by Sony Germany, and I've no doubt his online presence was a really big factor. But the difference of Robert Grace is being able to translate that into sales on the ground. And he does an awful lot of work around that. Hard work, working every day, talking to his fans, talking to his supporters, deciding on ticket rates and ticket sales and venues, and, very, very active in the direction of his own career. And I think today's creative has to be able to do that. They have to be their own HR person, financer, marketeer,
Yeah.
plus whatever creative skill set hat they're wearing, you know?
Yeah.
And so you are a hybrid creative. And we need to
Mm.
kind of see that as a positive, as opposed to what I've witnessed in the last 4 or 5 years is this kind of guilt or shame that a young creative might have going, oh, I'm not in my full-time gig yet. I'm not doing it. So what are you talking about? The fact that you're out working at all in the creative world getting paid is you being a creative, you know?
Yeah.
And we're all working to get to that
Absolutely.
dream. But like you
Yeah.
need to accept that you are a creative, and you need to be a hybrid creative along the way, multimodal and possibly even
Yeah.
multi-sector. You mentioned it, Louisa, before. Remember the idea that the producer, has to be doing a hell of a lot more than
Yeah.
just production.
Absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
because that's what we're hearing from employers in Dublin
Mm.
and around the country. We're saying, okay, what can our students do for you? What roles are you looking to have filled? What can we promote for you? And they're saying, well, we might be looking for a producer, but we're also looking for a producer that knows the basis. It's a bit
Yeah.
like working in a coffee shop and also kind of subbing in the kitchen some days and taking
Yeah.
out the bins and cleaning the tables. And you kind of want to
Yeah.
you want to wear all the hats for yourself, and then you want to be
Yeah.
willing to put on multiple hats for everyone else as well. So
Yeah.
you
And
don't
if
have
you
a huge
listen to
head.
Barry Cowan and that, they all talk about
Yeah,
the litany of jobs they've had,
absolutely. Yeah,
alongside kind of getting there. So
yeah,
I'm going to play it, and hopefully you
100%.
might resonate with
Yeah.
something you see in the clip. Um, that's all we can hope for, right? So let's play this
Absolutely.
for a minute while I get my deco.
The open on Mick. Mick's a runner. No, not a runner like that, no. He's a runner on set. You see, Mick's trying to figure out what his gig is. Is he a DOP, a grip? Focus puller. Food. Yeah, catering could be Mick's calling. Or hair and makeup, perhaps. How about choreography? I got it. A stuntman. Maybe not. Wondering what your next role might be? At Minding Creative Minds, we offer free career guidance and life coaching for all creatives in the screen industry. So we can help you to shape your story. Supported by Fee Sharing, Screen Ireland, for the story makers.
And that just goes to show you like how varied you can be, and you'll all recognize the voice there, and you're correct in what you're thinking. And we've 3 versions of that, so feel free to go to our YouTube channel and have a look. But yeah, we're so lucky that there is not a community organization or a membership association across the creative sector in Ireland that isn't delighted to hear about what Mind and Creative Minds is trying to do. So with that in mind, we're getting so many legs up and so much help from Mind and Creative Minds, so much help to get the word out so that people use the service. And that comes from the fact that the creative sector has been starved for so long of anything that exists like this. We're the first of this kind in Ireland. It never existed before. When you look at the success of the creative sector in Ireland, it's kind of mind blowing that there was never a dedicated service for wellness, for your mental health, for your career, for your resilience, your inner strength, your creative art therapies, your networking through monthly meet and greet, the economic empowerment piece I keep coming back to because it's everything that our career service is about. And ultimately, everything else that we do kind of feeds into that. We want creatives who are based in Ireland or Irish creatives abroad to be the best that they can be at what they do, and let other experts around help them with the things that they need help with, and do it in a way that's affordable and accessible. So you'll find that 95% of our workshops are online deliberately. And people say, oh, but we want to meet people in person and that. And that's fine. But if you're in Donegal or Galway or Kerry or Kilkenny or Waterford and the workshop's in Dublin, it doesn't resonate. Do you know what I mean? Or vice versa, if the workshop's in
Yeah.
Cork and you're from Dublin. So we try and make it as affordable and accessible. And then 4 or 5 times a year, we put on our networking events and we get around to different events around the country. And most anyone at Electric Picnic who's working anyway in the back areas will see us. We provide a wellness crew village, and we provide lots of teas and snacks and phone charging stations. And like that, we're literally trying to just softly phase into the background, the back stages, the back offices, the back rooms, the green rooms, to just be there and say, look, here we are, like in Vicar Street, here we are. If you have a problem, just pick up the phone. Anything at all, from, conflict to stress to financial to relationship to body image to whatever. And it's all going on. I don't think we get a break, right? Online or offline. We don't get a break. We're a hectic first world country, if I might call that, on paper, but off paper, we're all running around. It seems like it's faster than ever before, and we're trying to do so much in order to, be our best version of ourselves. And then with that comes that negotiation, of keeping your health well rounded, you're kind of spiritual, you're mindful, taking that holistic approach, and then having the tools in your toolbox to be able to get the finance bit right and the economics bit right. So I'll jump straight in here because I know I'm running out of time. I'd be surprised if Louise is not screaming at me in about 2 minutes to wrap. But just
Yeah.
to kind of give you the formal slant, am I okay to take 2 more minutes, Louise? Am I all right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
we've time.
So to kind of look, we are a 24/7 well-being service. So the numbers that you'll see on the final slide here are available 24/7. And what I'd say is it takes between 72 hours and 5 working days for that case manager or that counsellor to call you back, which is great anyway. Do you know what I mean? It's great. We're dealing with 6 months kind of in traditional services, so it's an awful lot quicker, and that's what we're aiming to do. And what I would say to you then is have a look at mindingcreativeminds.ie. It's .ie, not .com, just to tell everybody. And then we're into here. What we did in 2023 was quite important. So I just wanted to give you a snapshot. We've had our creatives now for 3 years. We're into our 4th, very much telling us what they want using the council and services, giving us feedback on what that's like, using the enhanced service. For those of you who want to be strong advocates of best practice, of good practice, of respect and dignity based workplaces, I would highly recommend you go to Safe to Create website. And that is spearheaded by the Irish Theatre Institute with a number of stakeholders, including Minding Creative Minds and Screen Ireland and a number of others. And the idea of Safe to Create is to ensure that workplaces across the creative sector are safe spaces. Anti-bullying, very much without the concern of sexual harassment or any kind of inappropriate behaviors. So there's a code of behavior, there's respect and dignity, and there's then anti-bullying. There's 3 different types of e-learning sessions you can do. They're like 40 minutes max on their website. It's all free. And then you can sign a pledge and print your own trust statement and your cert, which is really, really nice. And with that, you put that into your portfolios, you put that up on your IMDb, you put that up on your LinkedIn, you put that up wherever it is that you're promoting yourself, because that tells everybody else that you're not going to accept behaviors outside, what's acceptable. So what we have had in Ireland, unfortunately, is, a culture of watching, observing, and not speaking up or not shouting out or not kind of, halting. And it's still out there. It's going to take a long time before we can, really make a significant impact across the sector. But you've got Safe Gigs in Cork as well, safegigs.ie, and the Safe to Create program. It's turning into more of a movement. And you've got everyone from producers to singer-songwriters to the filmmakers to all types of creative, the photographers, the painter, the poet, the author, the writer, everybody coming along, signing that code of behavior, making sure they're up there and they're advocating for that. And once you do that, then you basically publicly announce, as well as yourself privately announce, that you want to work in an environment where you have respect and dignity, you're not bullied. And with any kind of freelance community, you're going to get that, it's quite short time projects. So you're going to have these different cultures existing, and we just need to do an awful lot more work in Ireland to eradicate them or reduce them significantly. And that's going to take all of you to get to that point, because you're really that next generation of leader going out there. So the expanded service very much provides for anyone who's had any kind of sexual trauma or bullying, who wants to pick up the phone and talk to more of a trauma counsellor. We have brand new additions. So I mentioned we have our tutorials and our mentoring. We have events nationwide. We have various working groups going on at the moment. And we launched our first creative career summit in 2023. And that's going on now every year. That'll be an annual, which is great. And to give you a couple of statistics that might excite you, I don't know, but it's great to know that people are using the mentorship program. We've had more than 1,500 mentees. We're now finished round 9, actually. That was April 24. And we're on to the next rounds. And there's 3 rounds a year, okay? So the mentorship provides that one-to-one career mentorship, or again, literally the kind of set up my own business. How do I get to work in a creative business sector, either as a startup or get into an SME, or what should I be looking for in my contract? You know, lots of different types. And the various categories of creatives that we have applying, coming to our workshops, accessing our counselling services, accessing our creative art therapies, and attending our monthly meet and greets. They're all listed here and beyond. You know, I've got another column that it goes on. So if you just take a look at that slide there for 10 seconds, it's just, we have so many amazing creatives in Ireland, and there's so many forms as well. And I see visual arts really getting quite empowered of late, and online and e-commerce has provided for that. And also a collaboration. There's a lot of collaboration going on at the moment. So the other thing I'd say is be open to opening doors for yourself, being open-minded, working with others across the creative sector that aren't necessarily in your specific community, and broaden your horizons and get into those partnerships and collaborations nice and early, because then you're using your own network and then the other person's network and so on and so forth. And before you know it, you'll have a really good flurry of work available to you, you know. More than 1,500 members of the Irish creative sector engaged in 40 workshops last year, and we've already had 40 this year. And these are the kind of things that we do. So social media for creatives, again, funding 101, stagecraft for musicians. And like I said, we then have kind of establishing your stage persona. We have Alice Coughlin from the Abbey. She's very strong. Alice does a brilliant workshop there, actually, for playwrights as well, and what the artistic director is looking for. We have developing positive mindsets. We have agility awards funding with CLE. Insurance for creatives is a very strong piece. And Sean Brady comes in from eventinsurer.ie, who are actually the biggest insurer in Ireland for creatives. So, you know, right down to the person who's going to perform for 10 minutes to the artist that's, you know, out on an 80-day tour. So it's really good to see that. Playwrights then, empowering females, Arts Council Agility Awards basics. We have a lot as well around inclusion. We're very conscientious towards all elements of inclusion. So all of the pillars of inclusion. So I don't mean just kind of the fluffy stuff, you know, the kind of greenwashing, if you want to call it that. We're very interested in seeing mentees and workshop facilitators, as well as workshop attendees from all walks of life, all backgrounds, all traditions, all ethnic groups, come in and bring their skill set and their experience and their wisdom to us in the community, so that we can learn from that. So we very much are interested in niche, and the more open and diverse our creative sector is, the better we can keep going and winning all those awards internationally, you know. So going on for 2024, the Career Hub will continue to grow. So I would say please use that service. It's available to you when you're in your final year plus, so final year, postgraduate, and so on. So it's very important for you that you get to use it now while you can, you have the time. The monthly meet and greets are great, any of the niche services we have, and then our creative arts therapies. So this just launched in Q1 in 2024. It was opened, and I think they were inundated like within 72 hours. They already had their first 6 months, of applicants. So phase 1 was already done, within days, and we expected it would be open for months. And they're already now onto a register of interest list for phase 2. So again, it's like every time we launch a new pillar, the community just grab it. The creative community are just grabbing it, with all hands, and use it to benefit themselves. And that's what it is there for. So please do jump in there. We started an online creative career clinic in November. We ran it every month for 6 months. And we're now going bi-monthly. And that's brilliant. That's if you have like 15 minutes of a need where you want to get in front of somebody to just get one or two like questions that are bugging you, these burning questions that are holding you back from something. You don't necessarily want 3 hours of mentorship with somebody, but you'd love to have a short chat about it. If that is the case, get onto the online creative career clinic, because you get to go in on a one-to-one basis and have a chat with the advisors there on the clinics, who again have more than 15 years, 20 years experience, really know their stuff, and again will save you years of kind of making any hiccups or mistakes along the way. And if anything, they'll at least endeavor to fast track it, to get there as quick as you can. And then for those of you who do want to work in the freelance area, you've already decided that rather than go with the traditional full-time role, you're going to end up, being that master of your destiny, freelancing, creating your own schedules, working in your own different environments in different locations. We have got a freelance forum once a month, and that's really good, where freelancers are coming in and actually solving each other's problems collectively. So somebody has different levels of experience, and you're there with Andrew Macklin, who coordinates it, and everybody's kind of working out the problems for the other person. That's really cool space, because most of them are leaving all the time with their own network now. They've made a couple of buddies, and they go on then to build up their own network from that, which is great. So to wrap up, what I'd say to you, this is the dedicated helpline, 1800-814-244. You can WhatsApp if you like. My recommendation to you is just pick up the phone, because it's so much quicker and it gets it done. And they normally take your information, and then like that 72 hours to a week to come back to you. And then you'll be put in contact with somebody who's just your direct contact from then on in. So you're not having to go through an office or anything. You can do it on the phone. You can do it online on Zoom, or face to face through Google Meet or Teams or whatever. So I find a lot of the therapists and counselors are great. And some people will start out with 12 sessions, but actually only need 3 or 5 or 6 or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So you'll find when you get into it, make it work for you. And again, like anything, we would stress, use it. We want you to use it. We don't want to lose this service. It was a long time coming. I'm sure Dave Reed, before he ever came to any of us in 2020, had a burning idea going on in his brain for a long time. And actually, the story of Minding Creative Minds it's a bittersweet one, in the sense that it comes from losing too many people, either into mental health or just losing them full stop. That sometimes, depending on the areas that they're in, they're built up. You're built up in college, or you're built up by family and friends, or you're built up by your fan group or your community or what have you, and you're up there on the pedestal, and then nobody's really preparing you for plan B. And everything is so much quicker in today's world. Every success is short-lived. That again, it's about reinventing yourself and getting ready to put that different hat on and being able to move around. One of our most recent mentors to join us is Dan, and he's from Hermitage Green, and he's a perfect example. Like Alfie Hudson Taylor is one of our mentors as well. They're perfect examples of musicians who have been on stage and played at festivals and are still playing. Like, don't get me wrong, to tens of thousands of people. And yet the rest of the year, they might be tutoring in a college, or they might be one-to-one sessions, or they might be working in a creative business of some sort. So, and they're perfectly happy with that, because that is the kind of mix, that is that multiple creative hat that you have to wear in order to be able to work in what you love full time. So I think that's, that's kind of the message here, that we need to be able to adapt much quicker now, to the kind of landscapes we're seeing ahead of us. You know, companies dropping off offices, everybody working that bit more hybrid. It means that we have to be able to work on our own initiative and be able to switch and adapt as is needed, you know. And that does take resilience. That takes you having a lot of inner strength and inner confidence, believing in yourself. And you guys have no reason not to. So what I would say is use all of these services if it means that we can bolster you a bit more and help you along your way. You might leave here and go, this is great, thanks a million, this was fab, no need for you guys. But 4 or 5 years down the line, or even 2 years down the line, you might go, oh, I actually need to know a bit more about that funding, or I need to talk to a business mentor about this contract. You know, so always say to you, just have mind and creative minds in your back pocket. We're really just there to look out for you and to be there when you need us. That's all. If that's what we do, great. And if you see somebody kind of stressed out a little bit or not having too good a time in life and they were creative, just remind them that we're there. They might not know that we're there, and you guys do. So yeah. So that's really it. It's just to enjoy the service and make use of it. Suck it all up.
That is brilliant. That is just phenomenal, Emma. Thank you so much. And I really couldn't agree more. I think take advantage and kind of feed, as you said, feed the service. Tell your friends, tell your colleagues. If you meet someone new, like, make it an icebreaker. If you're on LinkedIn, you're trying to chat to someone, you're a bit awkward, and you go, oh, I heard about you through Minding Creative Minds. Isn't it such a good service? And even on a base level, you're kind of spreading the word and you're using it as that little kind of bridge. And as Emma said, if you don't need it today, you might need it in 3 years. And by speaking about it, by letting your peers know, because your peers are your network. You know, as I said, IDT is a very small college, and the folks that are in psychology, the ones that are in new media, the ones that are in film, the ones that are in business, these are the people you're going to be working with.
And I'll be honest, we have so many
future, you know?
IIT alumni throughout our whole sector, you know, mentors, independents on our parent committees. I have to be honest, it's just, you know, really well established alumni. And if I give you any advice, it's no different to what I say to my DBS event management guys. Use your network. Please don't leave college this year and not have LinkedIn. Set up your LinkedIn, use it as a digital portfolio, add in your portfolio website, Behance, whatever. Get your stuff up there and link into each other. You are each other's first endorsements. So get on there and get some of your work up there. And, you know, literally you can add media, you can add links. You know, you don't need a CV when you have LinkedIn. You can download it as a PDF. So like, get work with that online profile. And again, if you need more help in that, of course, you know, feel free to reach out. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people there in the background of Minding Creative Minds, and we're all, you know, we're wishing everybody success. And it really does start with just one creative at a time. Cliches, that is.
Brilliant.
That gets the word of mouth.
Phenomenal.
Louisa, thanks, Mil, for having us. Minding Creative Minds.
Thank you so much for
that I might be
tired. Well, all the information will be on the final slide of this video anyway. The Safe to Create and the Minding Creative Mind websites, and all the resources will be there. So just click on and you'll find Emma and this phenomenal organization. But thank you so much, Emma. I so appreciate your kindness and expertise on this.
Best of luck to everyone. And again, literally feel free to drop us an email anytime and say, you spoke to us at our final year matters. Feel free to drop a line.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Emma.
Bye.
Thanks, Mel, everyone. Bye.